Hi guys, this is Guari and today we're gonna talk about the years that changed Yu-Gi-Oh forever. We'll start from 2008. In 2008, we saw Phantom Darkness and Light of Destruction that basically made simplifying the game state easier. What does simplify the game state mean? Simplifying the game state means basically destroying cards, like as you can guess from what Dark Armored Dragon and Gizars do. They destroy cards. And before Phantom Darkness, Light of Distraction, access to removal was rare and wasn't that consistent, and also wasn't that powerful. Let me move to the next slide to explain better. So, changing Yu-Gi-Oh! Gameplay introduced in 2008. More monsters with strong removal abilities, and they usually belong to an archetype. Like that is specific to the Dark decks, Kizarus for Gladiator Beast, Judgment Dragon for Lightsworn. Also, access to removal became more consistent. What does this mean? It means that decks are better at searching for the removal cards of their tool for removal. Let's go look at some example. Like when that was released, we had Phantom format, the return format, and basically we had this kind of decks that was focused on searching Dark Armored Dragon with a huge draw power. You had Allure of Darkness, Free Destiny Draw, Cyber Valley with machine duplication, and so you can see how easily it dig the deck for Dark Dragon and how easy it was to summon it. Then, in when Light of Destruction came out, we had Gladiator Beast becoming a tier 0 deck basically, and summoning Gizarus was awfully easy because there was Gladiator Proving Ground, there was Prisma, that was searchable by Stratos and other searchers, and so there was also the Tiger. So summoning Gizarus and clearing the field was incredibly easy. And in fact, in this top four, you can see there are three Gladiator Beast on Livesworn. Then there's Gladiator Beast, the Return, Gladiator Beast, Hero Beat, with a lot of cards to counter the meta, even Prohibition, which is crazy. Gladiator Beast, the Turbo, Soul Control, you can see Royal Oppression, Vanity, everything to counter the main strategy of the meta decks. Gladiator Beast, Gladiator Beast, Gladiator Beast, the Turbo, and Gladiator Beast. We can say that Gladiator Beast, if this format was played today, Gladiator Beast would become definitely tier 0, will be the tier 0 of the format. And so, yeah, as you can see, the meta decks had easy and consistent access to removal. Omni removal cards are becoming more present. Dark Armored Dragon and Gizarus is removal, but also Raiko. Raiko is an Omni removal because it destroys both spells and traps, and so you can see how that is a big change. Before Raiko, you had the old Vindictive Magician and Man-Eater Bug, which is weren't that great. In fact, they weren't played that much. Remove also and other Omni removal we had before were Jackie Brack and Phoenix Wind Blast, but they came at the cost of discarding a card, so their versatility had a cost. Anyway, yeah, removing stuff also became easier. It's kind of obvious. Right, Raiko is easy to remove cards. Gizarus is easy to summon. That was easy to summon in that return, given all the draw power and cards to send dark monsters to the graveyard. While before removal, when it was cheap, anyway, it came at a cost. For instance, I put Six Samurai as an example of this because to make Six Samurai clear things from the opponent field, you usually need to have two Six Samurai on the field, which was easy if you had Six Samurai plus Grandmaster in hand, but otherwise it was kind of clunky. was effective, but not that effective. It had weaknesses. It was easy, fast, cheap removal like the one we have with Raiko, Izarus, Dad. Oh yeah, this is another big thing that happened. Having access to lots of different cheap removals became a necessity for a deck to be meta, hence the fall in alternative win condition decks in the meta. Decks like Barn, Mill, Stall decks. For instance, look at this on decks and compare it with Perfect Circle meta. Now in general, gonna take a tournament, recent tournament from Perfect Circle. You can see this is this commander 8. Top 4 was Gravekeeper, two Baboon Barn, Perfect Circle Monarch. Then we had Windmill, Perfect Circle Monarch, Perfect Circle Battle to Return. Okay, yeah, basically after Phantom Darkness, basically Barn kinda disappeared from the meta because the other decks with easy removals, had a better strategy at chipping life points from the opponent, and Barn decks didn't have the means to counter those decks and weren't fast enough to kill them before they were killed. So decks like this, like Ban, but even Stormmill, which top Preferred Circle tournament, and in general alternative win condition, grew weaker, and that's because they didn't have enough tools to deal with removal and didn't even have enough removal to deal with the opponent's monsters. Yeah, this is a big change. Also because like let's take a look for a moment at Perfect Circle format banned list. Something that's really interesting. Like Breaker was just unlimited, like it was banned, which is crazy, especially if you think at Edison when it's at free and it's barely played, like you can see sometimes in the side deck. But it once Breaker was banned, and that tells you a lot about the power level. Now it's limited, and in this format also fissure and smashing are limited. Even if I have to say that this probably also was a commercial move because in Gladiator Assault, Soul Taker, which was a secret rare at the time, was released. So I think they wanted people to buy the set to pull out the secret rare Soul Taker. But anyway, this doesn't change the fact that access to removal wasn't that widespread, and it came at a cost. Like Sultaker giving the opponent 1,000 life points. Trust me, it's a big thing in a slow format like Perfect Circle. You really don't want to give your opponent that many life points. Okay, what else do we have to tell you? I think we can move on to the next slide, which is also really big. And I think, I know, let's stay a little on topic about this. Yeah, let's look at Edison top tier decks, which is really important to give you the picture. Like Edison top tier decks are Blackwing, Vayu, Frogs, and I want to add among the mix Gladiator Beast and Dragon Turbo. These two, the last two decks aren't played that much, but I think it's also because Dragon Turbo is a combo deck and it's a bit difficult to play. And Gladiator Beast, it's also more difficult to play compared to the other three decks. And it also became meta in the Edison format later, like the first stop at an RBT was in 2024, before people thought the deck was weak, while it's really not weak deck. It's just that uh, it's not as straightforward as Blackwing or Vayu, especially when you're gonna deck with. And anyway, it's not played that much also because people are reluctant to change, so they don't want to move away from Vayu and Blackwing since those deck, of course, are really, really valid, especially Blackwing against Gladiator Beast. But anyway, if you look at these top decks, at the Edison top decks, you all see that they have a consistent access to removal. They have Devastation Virus, Royal Oppression, Raiko, Hamster Caius, the engine, Gator Vista Gizarus. Blackwing has also Icarus Attack. Then Dragon Turbo is another level because it's a deep draw turbo. But anyway, as you can see, they have access really is access to removal. While other Edison decks that are deemed competitive, but in my eyes aren't that competitive because, guys, let's be real. Uh, at the moment, the top decks are these four: Blackwing Bayou, Frogs, and Geyser Beast. The others are just decks that can top once in a while, but as we have seen from some some good players that once were strong on playing zombies, Divairo, like I think Beast model, and also a true hero, like their pet decks, they were a huge pilot for the zombie and Divairo. I think that now kinda dropped the decks, and the reason is easy because they clearly lack something compared to the top tier decks. They're good decks, but they aren't as good as the other top tier decks. And guys, the reason is easy. The other decks have better access to removals. They and that's really the big reason. Yeah, at this time, the like until 2012, I say that the biggest thing for a meta deck to be competitive was to have easy access to removal and to simplify the game state. While in Blackwing, you can easily clear board with Icarus, while, for instance, in Zombie, to clear the opponent's board, you have to go through Synchros, or even Caius, let's say, but the main play of Zombies is to go through Synchro, and that's requires effort. That's not a cheap requirement. While Blackwing can just Icarus attack. And anyway, even Blackwing is better at synchro summoning because you just need Blizzard and well, come in Blizzard, Brianna come in, other synchro monsters come in, and while instead, ironically, it's more difficult for zombie to access synchro summon. Uh, yeah, also Diva Hero is let's no Diva Hero. Let's take a just take a look at Diva Hero. Summoning Diva to summon a Catastor is weaker compared to tributing a Tribon Frog to summon a Monarch. Because summoning a Monarch is a big thing, guys. Especially when you can do it at basically no cost. Like in Perfect Circle, Monarch, as you can see from uh, the name, the deck after the name is after the format is named. It was based on basically Draw Engine and Tribute Fodder Engine to summon Ryza and LED. And but this deck now fall off a bit because, of course, as the format gets revisited, new strategies are discovered, new ways to counter decks are discovered. But anyway, it's still a strong deck, and because summoning Ryza was a strong thing, even if it came at a cost. So imagine how strong it is to summon a Monarch for free in 2010, when many decks have, have a lower power level or hindered or by the fact that you can play them because they lose to oppression, they lose to deck devastation virus. And so you can see how easy access to removal is a big thing. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, which is 2012. Generating card advantage easily and consistently. This is a really big thing. This is probably the biggest change in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that consistent access to removal isn't that bad, uh, because anyway, it's still the game still becomes back and forth. The game is still back and forth. But when there is a free generation of card advantage at no cost, and also this card advantage is then turned into board present, which means a way to simplify the game state, clearing the opponent's board, well, then it becomes a problem. This change. Okay, let's go to the slide. Yeah. Also, let's take a look at how things went. The fourth stage of card advantage generation, Yu-Gi-Oh, where those cards whose only purpose is to generate card advantage, and they usually have weak stats like the Koichi and Gadget. The Koichi is a flip monster that lets you draw a card, and Gadget, you all know what they do. And but they were good for generic card advantage, but they had weak stats. So to advance your gameplay, to advance the game state, and to clear the opponent's board, you need to have other cards. They were just good basically to generate card advantage, and there, yeah, that was their function. Then we have the second stage of card advantage that came with the late Synchro era. Card advantage became built-in on monsters, but they were synchro monsters, so it wasn't cheap card advantage. And you think of Hyper Librarian, Karakuri Synchros, Infernity. But the fact is that those card advantage required investment. It wasn't cheap card advantage. You need to successfully summon the synchro, and then you will reap the benefits. Like you need a librarian and formula synchron to draw two cards. You need to successfully summon a Karakuri synchro monster to create card advantage. Same thing for Infinity. And that's not easy given that in this format there were Maxi, there were Veiler, there were trap cards, there were Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, Royal Oppression and stuff. And so in at this stage, card advantage became stronger because it was built in a strong in monster with stats, so that they were useful tools to clear the opponent's board and to advance the game state, so to simplify the game state. But they required an investment. They had a cost, which wasn't an easy cost. So at this time, the card advantage generation was still balanced because it had a cost. But then, with the first stage, things, in my opinion, started getting out of hand. Because yeah, the first stage started with orcs, card that generate card advantage easily. Wind up magician, okay, it's from photonic shockwave, but wind up wasn't a thing until orcs. Uh, wind up factory, Garmor, which is from Redur. This card advantage then was transformed in board advantage and simplification of the game state thanks to extra deck monsters. Not only cheap card advantage and also constant, because like when that factory it was it's a continuous spell. Garmor, you can flip it every turn, and anyway you add Gargant X to add the things also in the other turn. So it wasn't just cheap, constant card advantage, but it also led to a consistent essence to removal, because the removal now wasn't built in the decks, in monster in the decks, but it was built in extra deck monsters. Basically, the monster in the deck become just a tool to summon the extra deck monsters. What are the consequences for this? And I think the consequences for this are really grim. Like I think this was the start of the downfall of Yu-Gi-Oh! The grim consequences of cheap card advantage generation. You need immediate answer for the card advantage generation cards, otherwise things snowball, and snowball bad for you. Just think of a Gear Armor that flips every turn, or just going to Gargantics. If you don't have an immediate answer for Gargarmo, guys, you're in a really bad spot, because the opponent is gonna advance his gameplay, is gonna clear a board, summoning summoning big monsters, and that's bad. So because of that, the opening hand becomes much more important because you need to draw enough purple cards to deal with purple spell cards to deal with the opponent's monsters, and that means also less strategies because to stop the opponent from advancing his game state, you just need to kill the card advantage generation card. While before, there was a little strategy, like it wasn't straightforward that you had to kill the card generation advantage card. You could save card for something else. And this is also especially true for formats before card. It was true also for formats before card removal became that consistent. So yeah, guys, these are really big differences, and this is a bad innovation for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like now I'm gonna sound like a Yu-Gi boomer. Uh, I honestly had the same thought about, like I would have thought of myself like this if I had to watch this video when I was 12, 14. Like I remember when watching Yu-Gi-Oh forums, learning stuff about Yu-Gi-Oh forums, I would read about players complaining that Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't the same as before, that the Phantom Darkness killed everything, that this new set killed everything. And honestly, what they were just Yu-Gi boomers. They like the game wasn't that bad, and we also thought, how could the game be that different? But that was just because I didn't play the game before the Xyz era, so I couldn't give a comparison. I didn't even play especially now that I play Perfect Sequel. I have a much better vision of how Yu-Gi-Oh progressed. Also, I want just to take a look of the top decks to explain more the first stage card advantage generation problems. As you can see, now the like Gyargia is an engine deck, as it's an exist toolbox deck. The strategy is to generate as much advantage as possible with Gyargia armor, with Gyargia gear, summon stuff from the extra deck, advance your game state. And the same thing is for wind up. Wind up is the same thing. It's in Axis toolbox deck. You summon monster from the extra deck and that's it. Like the interesting thing is that now no monster in the deck has an effect to remove cards, to kill cards. None. None of them. They're just a piece for the exist toolbox. While if you look at Perfect Circle instead, or even at Edison, like monsters had the built-in removal. It was a free removal. It didn't generate advantage. It was a one for one trade, so you had to think carefully about which card use, which card to kill with the removals. But anyway, since the extra deck wasn't there, removal was all in the main deck. This was also true for Edison, even if it changed a bit. But anyway, it, if I think it was still the same thing for Puffer Circle. Most of the removal came from the main deck. Just think of Raiko, Hamster, Caius. Uh, but now with after Orcs in 2012, things changed dramatically. And I don't like this change because, like I said, I hate the fact that I need to have an immediate out for the cards, otherwise, like I hate that I need to have an out for Gargarmor or for Gigi Summon, otherwise they're just gonna snowball in advantage. It makes the game a bit less skilled because it depends much more what you draw in the opening hand. Okay, there's also more stuff to talk about. Oh yeah, this is now I'm gonna go to counter the critics that I will receive because it's true that in Purple Circle there isn't much access to removal, but if you think, but people will gonna say, what about the God format? What about the format with counts monsters in? Yeah, guys, there you got a point because at the time of God format, decks had easy access to removal. Decks had free removals. Just the Chaos Monster are free removals that you summon basically for free, and you also get to remove stuff from the opponent's board. Yeah, that's crazy strong. But the point is that, in my opinion, God format is the result of a card design error. Why do I think this? The main reason I think this is because these cards, the Chaos Monsters, have been banned for so long that I think Blackluster Soldier got banned after GOT. It got banned for 6 years. It was unbanned in September 2012, 2011. Chaos Sorcerer got banned too after a while. I think it was in 2006 maybe. But anyway, I knew for a thing that in Purple Circle, Chaos Sorcerer was banned, which is really crazy. No Chaos Monsters, all the Chaos Monsters are banned in Purple Circle. Why this is crucial from my point of view? It's crucial because it means that these cards were out of the power level. They weren't in line with the power level the game was supposed to be. And the same goes for Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, and all the other cards that got banned. Tsukuyomi, Flipping Moth, adding back things. These cards were all beyond their power level. They were beyond the power level of the format. And that's why they got banned. That's why many of them stay banned for a long time or never got unbanned. They simply were just too good. And when things are too good, a company that want to sell product have to do a thing. Either you ban the cards or you power creep everything. But power creep everything isn't a cheap solution because power creep comes at the cost of reducing the longevity of the game. Just think of the current Yu-Gi-Oh situation. Because of no set rotation and because everlasting power creep that increased set after set, now Yu-Gi-Oh is in a dark state. Like you see all the people quitting because they can keep up with the game state. They can't keep up with Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. Uh, it became too difficult, it became too tiring, became too bothersome to keep up with the meta because the only solution, uh, you can't ban cards anymore. There would be too much stuff to ban. The only solution is to power creep everything, every set. Maybe with some strategic bans, but it's not a situation that can be recovered. While instead, Konami, with the bannings of Chaos Monsters, recover from the situation. Instead of power creep during the GX era, it chose to ban the Chaos Monsters and other problematic DM cards. Because like it's not just COD format, but all the formats from the Dual Monster era are basically a result of card design error. You don't start a game with those cards in. They're just too strong. Think Puffer Circle, from this point of view, it's kind of balanced because access to removal isn't that present and it comes at a cost, so it all feels balanced. Um, Also, let me also make a point, another point on this, on why the fact that these cards were banned, it means specifically that Konami realized that these cards were out of line with the power level of the other cards in the format. Because when Konami bans a card, usually means that also at the time it meant that they weren't supposed to be in the format. And that's the case for Spellbook of Judgment, Gateway of Six, Blaster Dragon, and the Dragon Rulers. Like for instance, Gateway of the Six was released in uh, Sovro, I don't remember, Stardust Overdrive in 2009, and it was at free for a lot of time until March 2011 when it was banned. And it was banned because 1 month before, in February 2011, Storm of Ragnarok was released, and that was a big change for Six Samurai that basically became a tier 0 deck, and so Gateway had to be limited. This is a clear example of Konami saying, no, this card is out of line with the power level we want the game to be, so it gotta be limited. The same thing happened with Spellbook of Judgment, Blaster, and the Dragon Rulers. Konami printed those cards, but then they banned them, and that's because they said, no, okay, we want to make a quick cash, force player to buy the new set, to buy Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, but we don't want the meta power level to be this. We don't want it yet. So we're gonna ban them. And that's what they did. And basically, in fact, after 2013, in 2014, the power level became much lower. And we had Firewater, Vegas, and Art format, and that's also a big reason why. Like the fact that these cards were banned and quite quickly, I'd say, like Spellbook of Judgment was banned, didn't last a ban. It was banned after 3 months, I think. When things like this happen, it's because Konami knew that these cards were out of town with the power level. I think they made a mistake like at not banning the Dragon Rulers. Like maybe they thought that banning the little ones was enough, but they obviously made an error, and that cost them money because like I remember that the stats from 2014 from 2014 fall like were irrelevant, like no, not Primary, Judgment of the Light, Shadow Specters. Those stats no one bought them because why would you play? What were those cards needed for? Dragon Ruler was the best deck, and so instead cards like Yargi Armor aren't out of line with the power level. They made it clear that from 2012 and on, the power level had to be cards that generated card advantage consistently and easily, and that had to reach the extra deck to deal with the opponent's board. So that was in line with the power level, not a mistake in card design. Okay, guys, I I think I said everything. Probably you just want to say something about, yeah, Insector. I didn't mention them, but they're in the same line with Wind Up, even if Insector had built-in removal, but it was fair, between quotes, a lot of quotes, since you need basically a dead card, an Hornet, Insector Hornet to deal with the opponent's card, or with the opponent's stuff. Uh, kinda work like Six Samurai, I say, but of course much stronger. You get what I mean. But anyway, it was still free card advantage generation, and they also reached a lot in the extra deck to deal with the opponent's board. And so yeah, guys, that's it. That's also why I think that preferred circle format is a great format because yeah, having easy access to removal and easy access to card advantage generation kinda dumbs down the game. And I think that the problem with Edison specifically is that few decks had access to easy removal. If more decks had access to easy removal, uh, it would be better. There would be more deck competing. But since this is not the case, the true competitive decks are just four: Black Queen, Bayou Frog, and Gladiator Beast. If there were more format, or if there were more decks with easy access to removal, format would be more diverse, I guarantee you. So yeah, this is why also now I'm invested in Purple Circle in promoting it because I'm kinda tired of the dumbness or the dumbness of the other retro formats. Okay, okay, guys, I fuck, I should have write a script for this. I just want to add that another thing about God format is that these cards are easy removal, which have no cost basically in God format because of the Sinister Serpent, Night Assailant, and Thunder Dragon. Okay, guys, I think I said everything now, and we'll see you next video. Leave a like or don't leave it, and leave a comment. I want to hear your critics. Okay, see ya. Bye.